whole truth, nothing but just the truth in an interview. Well, friends, my name is Arun. I'm a leadership coach, and in this video, I'm going to talk about that whether you should be honest in giving an answer, particularly to certain sensitive questions, or you should be having a smart answer, not just to give a response that will satisfy the person on the other side, but also can help you in achieving your objective of getting a job. Now, why I'm making this video today, because recently I got a message on my YouTube channel where a gentleman asked me, sir, that I had left my job and I didn't have any job in my hand. And when I went for the interview, I told them the exact reason which they did not like, and because of which I could not get my job. And that worries me that in future, if I go for any interview and if I start telling some real facts that why I was laid off, there are very high chances I may still not get a suitable job. And that prompted me to create this video. Well, in this video, what I will be giving my best tip is that how you should attempt an interview, what all you should be talking about, as well as with some examples of certain sensitive questions where people ask you, tell me what is one of your weakness or improvement area, how you should answer, or tell me that how was your relationship with your manager when things were tough. Now, these are some of those questions that really shakes you up. But before we go there, let me give you a context. The context is that for every interview, the first policy is that you definitely need to be honest. You really need to tell the right things about your profile, your career, everything that you have mentioned in your resume, because that is a document that is telling about you, and you are confirming it by narrating everything in a sequential manner. Now, as you will appreciate that if you are telling a lie at any point of time in this briefing narration or the entire process of interviews at several rounds, there is also a very high possibility that, let's say you get selected, and after 3 months or 6 months, if they come to know that you are lying, it will not put just a black spot on your job, but it will put a very big black spot in your entire career. So I'm sure each one of us understands the sanity and sensitivity of such situations, and we should be very honest. Having said that, since this is an interview that you might be giving to a very senior leader in the organization or to the HR, there are certain areas which I would call it as gray areas. So what is important is a good preparation in how you are going to answer that, so that not only you satisfy them, but also you are able to give them a proper conviction that you are the right person and how sincere and honest you are. So in this video, we are going to go deeper in understanding some of those potential questions and how to answer them. In this meanwhile, if you are really liking our content, then don't forget to like and subscribe the channel on this presentation. Now, let's take one very potential question that definitely being asked in a lot of interviews, and that potential question is, tell me one of your weakness or one of your developmental areas that you have identified. A lot of people have got some standard questions, I work very hard day in and day out, and probably time management is one of my very common skills. But please understand, a lot of us have read the social media and we have definitely been able to research a lot of good answers, but this kind of answers have become very common. So what is the best way to look at a question like this? Now, since you have to answer something with respect to your weakness, should also not be reflecting a point that if that job needs that particular thing the most urgent, then there is a high chance that it can go counterproductive to you. So now, being honest, some people may say that, when things just pile up, I get under tremendous pressure and sometimes I fail to achieve my objective. Now, you may be sincere, honest, but this is a very gray area, and this can be counterproductive in your selection. So think about it, that how you can give a solution or an answer that can help you to not only tell what is your real weakness or developmental area. And mind you, these are not, weakness does not mean that it is a permanent disability. It is an improvement area. There is a way of saying, and that is what we say a good communication skills skill. So when I say that it's an improvement area, I'm trying my level best in improving on those areas. But if your answer does not cover this point, then it will only look that you have just mugged up an answer and you're trying to make it up in an interview just for the sake of saying. Now, let me give you a simple example. Let's say that I can put it like this, that see, I at workplace, there are many times that I have seen that a lot of work piles up, and at that time I see my productivity goes down because I'm unable to prioritize, or I'm unable to set a lot of things and together, and due to which I'm not able to give the best quality in my work. And as I started realizing, I discussed with my manager and I discussed with a couple of my well-wisher mentors. And the advice that I got is that I need to learn how to delegate those tasks. In order to do that, I have been able to get the approval of getting an intern in my system. And now I'm developing that intern, that my routine and mundane task where I don't need to be putting a lot of thinking ability, I'm passing on those tasks to that young intern who is helping me out in delivering those aspects. By doing this, one, I'm able to focus on more strategic work. Likewise, I am also helping a young intern to become more capable so that in future I can develop that person to become a full-time employee in my organization. Now think about an answer something like this, that you are working, you are a person in the making in developing your, let's say, your delegation skills, and not only just delegation as a competency that you are developing, you are also working hard in becoming more strategic in your role. And there could be, many more weaknesses that we can think of. Something like this, I'll give you another example. Let's say I'm working on my communication skills to sharpen it in a large gathering. So, for example, I will put it something like this, that see, when it comes to communication in terms of public speaking, I do very well when it's a small crowd of 5 or 10 people or 15 people. But the moment the crowd size increases to 50 people plus, it becomes very difficult for me to stay calm, composed, and focused on my public presentation skills. So at the moment, I am trying my best in participating in certain forums where I get an exposure to speak in a bigger, larger audience, like Toastmasters, that is boosting my capabilities to develop my public presentation skills and thereby communication. Now, mind you, let's say that this job needs communication as a very, very important skill. And if you say that you have a weaker communication skill, you might get a counterproductive results of not getting shortlisted. However, an example something like this can not only narrate the real specific point that you have good communication skills when it comes to a small group, and there is a part of that communication that is your public speaking skills, which means you are in a person in the making of creating a bigger public speaking skills by taking care of a bigger audience. I hope you will now be able to correlate this very sensibly. And also, I want to say that if you really found this example relevant to your current interview preparation, share your comments below in the comment section. And then I'll tell you another question, another scenario where you will also learn that what are those delicate areas that you need to be careful about. Now, let's take another question. Do you ever had a boss that you didn't like working with that person? Now, if I put an answer something like this, yes, in my, let's say, previous organization, there was a time when I was working under a manager. He was called as a sociopath, and anyone under him, working under him, was like being in a terror situation. People used to be terrified, and it was very difficult. And I also could not last more than 6 months, and I had to leave the job. Now, imagine if you give an answer something like this, do you think that you will ever be selected? The simple reason is because past is a predictor of future performance. So that means anything that you answer in an interview is going to give a message to the person on the other side that what kind of behaviors you will have if by chance you get a similar kind of a boss in the current situation. Maybe that you may not leave, but you may go and yell at everybody and you might write some nasty emails. There could be many more negative aspects that can come in the mind of the interviewer, and then your selection can get into jeopardy. What it means that if I become too honest in answering a question like this, I will not be successful in giving and getting the right approach in achieving my objective of getting selected in the interview. So, what could be a better approach? A better approach on the same situation could be something like this. Oh, yes, I had one manager during my initial career path where I had learned that he was a he was very high on micromanaging, and when he used to get emotional and when things were not getting as per his requirement, he used to get angry at a very small instances. Now, as a reportee to that manager, I used to observe very difficult conversations, conflicts in his team, and I used to observe a lot from the conversation with other teammates, that how dissatisfied they were. From this experience, the learning I took, that when I will become a manager, I will ensure that all those things that were done which created a lot of conflict will be avoided with my teammates. And till date, wherever I have gone, I have ensured that I should not be just micromanaging. I should be working very closely with my team, help them in achieving their objectives by developing them. Even if there are mistakes, even if there are conflicts, we sit together, do a proper listening and understanding, and then we come to a resolution. And I'm working on it to develop this ability of emotional intelligence part in building and having a control on my emotions and give more freedom to my people so that they can learn and grow. Now imagine an answer something like this would really create a huge interest on the other side of the people, that this person is learning something and this is not a permanent weakness. So not only he is telling us that what are the challenges that he is facing in developing the skills, but more importantly, he understands and accepts that this is one challenge that he's working on it and he's still not there completely. What is important is your attitude towards those things. Is your direction is on those sides that helps in shaping up your skills for future roles that this organization may have. So I hope this example would also give you some kind of an idea that it helps in setting up a person like you in the interview more credible, trustable, and looking forward to if you are getting selected in that organization. Now let's look at one more example, and don't go anywhere. Let me explain now the core question that we started with, that I left the job and I didn't have any other job in hand, but when I told them the real reason, I was rejected. Let me answer this in my next part. Now let's talk about the next question, which probably a lot of people sometimes feel uncomfortable to answer, that if the interviewer asks you, okay, you left the job, you didn't have any job in hand, what made you to do so? Now, being very honest, saying that maybe that you got laid off, though it's a very acceptable and open answer these days, or saying that, I had a very big conflict with my manager and due to which I could not sustain that pressure and I left the job. Now, again, saying something like this can also be counterproductive, and you need to see that these are very gray areas between you and the HR, because they try to look at things from their perspective, that how your behaviors would be in future if you have a similar situation. Now, to answer a question something like this, be very honest, but be very sincere in giving your approach, because mind you that you are applying for a job. You are not here to put your hand on the Bible or Gita and then you have to answer it 100% in honesty. So a smart answer could be something like this, that, see, I worked in this organization for 3 years, depending on the tenure that you spend, 3 years, 2 years, 5 years. And it was a time for me to take a break. And I wanted to really give time to myself, either in upgrading my skills, and I signed up for a course, and that was needed because if I continue to do the job as well as my professional course, it was not getting justified in terms of the time and attention that course needed. Mind you, I'm saying this, let's say that you have signed up for a course in that period. So I decided to quit the job, and I decided to spend 3 months on that course or a 6 months on that course, so that you devote your 100% to achieving that certification. And why you chose? Because you wanted that when you come back to the job market again, you are more capable in that particular skill that can help you to scale up your career 10x by doing that course. Let's say, for example, you went to IM for a 9 months special course on strategy. Let's say you went for a 3 months, a very high intense course on digital marketing. So that is the reason that you chose to do that. Now, some of you may argue and say that you are telling lie, Arun, because you had an issue with your boss and you are not narrating the real reason due to which you left the job. Well, my answer and my take is it's that it's your choice not to mention that reason is does not mean that it is lying. Nobody is asking you that did you have any issue with your manager. That's a separate question. But if somebody asks me that why you left the job without having a job in hand, then my answer is very clear. Though maybe the reason behind is that I didn't have a very good time with my boss. He was very critical, sociopath, and so many reasons behind it. But what I'm narrating is, and with proof, that see, I signed up for this program 3 months back, and there are 3 months still pending. And this is the time I thought that I'll start looking out for job, because for getting any job, it takes another 2 to 3 months time. So this is the time I chose to start searching and giving interviews. What's wrong in this? Because ultimately you are conveying your real feelings, and you are telling that why you left is to upgrade yourself to remain scalable with the market needs and updating your knowledge and skill. I'm sure every organization will appreciate. Well, friends, these are some of my top of the mind thoughts that came to me, that when you are giving an interview, should you be telling the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth? So there are certain areas which are gray areas that we have just covered. And if you understand that very well, not only that you will be able to give a good interview, but in integrity, honesty, sincerity, you will also score 10 on 10 by being very clear in your approach and answering those difficult questions and making yourself available for that organization to achieve those complex tasks. Well, once again, thank you very much for watching me, and do share your comments below if you found that this video has really helped you, and I'll wait for your comments and feedback. Until that time, I am going to prepare some new content based on the market needs. Thanks a lot.